Welcome to Our Halfling, where we talk about Lord of the Rings and a little bit about D&D. So let's get to it. Today we're going over Chapter 11 of the Silmarillion, of the Sun and Moon and the Hiding of Valinor. So the chapter begins with us going back to when Melkor has just killed Fenway and has taken the Silmarils and has left Valinor. It begins with us with the Valar and the Ring of Doom. And it says that they are doing much despite what Feanor may think, and that even though they're not saying anything out loud, they're solving all of these problems, mentally and speaking with each other sort of outside of their bodies. And during this time, though, they're spending a lot of it mourning over not only the destruction of the trees and the loss of the trees, but also of the marring of Feanor and how Melkor has now corrupted Feanor. And the chapter, Tolkien, particularly, I guess, Tolkien here uses several adjectives to just describe how amazing and wonderful Feanor is, and that Manwë is the only one who has the foresight and the knowledge to know what Feanor could have been, what he could have done, and the wonderful things he could have done if Melkor hadn't have come in and corrupted him. So now one of the Vanyar comes and tells Manwë what Feanor has said, that Feanor is choosing to create this rebellion. They want to leave Valinor and go to Middle-earth and, creating this rebellion, and that their deeds will last forever in song. And to this, Manwë states, "So shall it be. Dear bought, those songs shall be accounted, and yet shall be well bought, for the price could be no other. Thus even as Eru spoke to us, shall beauty not before conceived be brought into Ea, and evil yet be good to have been. But Mondo said, and yet remain evil. To me shall Feanor come soon." So basically, your songs are your deeds are gonna go down in songs, but at a cost. And Mondos is basically saying Feanor's gonna die soon. So now they realize that the Noldor are leaving. They're going off. They get word that they're about to cross into Middle-earth, and so they refocus their thoughts. So Manwë tells Yavanna and Nienna to go and try to heal the trees. So Nienna sheds many, many tears on the trees to no avail, and Yavanna sings this loving mourning song for an extremely long time, and all that can come of it is a single leafless silver flower from Telperion and a single golden fruit from Lorelin. So Yavanna takes the fruit and the flower from the trees, and here the trees officially die and are left where they are as a memorial of a joy that has been lost. And Yavanna gives the flower and the fruit to Aule, who then shows it to Manwë, who hallows them. And Aule, with others, goes and creates vessels to preserve the radiance of the fruit and the flower. And these vessels are given to Varda, who gives them the power and ability to travel above the girdle of the earth, going west to east and back. So the Valar hope that bringing the light to Middle-earth will hinder anything Melkor is trying to do. And Manwë also realizes that men are still to come, and this will hopefully prepare men and keep Melkor away from them. So it's said that war was made for the Quendi, and that this was made for the Hildor, or the aftercomers, for men. So now the Valar are also concerned about the mortality of men. They don't want war. And so again, all of this is with the thought that this will keep Melkor, Morgoth away from men, keep them out of war, try to keep them alive as long as possible, because also Manwë doesn't know exactly where the men will awaken. So all of this is being done as a precautionary measure to protect men. So now we have the silver flower from Telperion, which is the moon, and the Vanyar call it Isil, the sheen, and the Noldor refer to it as Vrana, the wayward. And you have the golden fruit from Lorelin, which is the sun, and the Vanyar call this Anar, the fire golden, and the Noldor referred to it as Vasa, heart of the fire. So it says that the sun was a sign for the awakening of men and the waning of elves, but the moon cherishes their memory. So here the Valar now need Maiars to guide the sun and moon, and they choose Arien, who had tended to the golden flowers in the gardens of Vana, who is the wife of Arome, and is said that wherever she walks, flowers bloom. So Arien is tending in her garden, and she watered the flowers with the dew from Lorelin. So the Valar are quick to choose Arien. She is a mighty woman, she's a mighty warrior, a mighty Maiar, and so it was easy to pick her to guide the sun. Now we have Tilion, who was a hunter of Arome, who carried a silver bow, loved silver, and in fact rested by the pools of Este under the light of Telperion. And he actually begged to be the one to guide the flower. So it says that Arien was the mightier of the two, and that she was unaffected by the heat of Lorelin, as well as unaffected and not deceived by Melkor. When Arien left Valinor, she discarded the appearance that she had taken to this point and now presents herself as a naked flame. And it says that she is terrible in the fullness of her splendor. So the moon was the first vessel to be made ready in the similar way that Telperion was the first tree to light. And so the world now has moonlight, and this awakens things that were in the sleep of Yavanna and Middle-earth. And at this point is when Fingolfin blows his trumpet and marches into Middle-earth. Tilion travels for 7 days before the sun dawns, and he was in the east when Arien began her travel. So the sun brought the first dawn over the Pelori, and Morgoth hated the light and brought his servants quickly into Angband to hide, and at this point is now sending forth clouds and fumes to try and hide themselves from the sun. So Varda proposes that the sun and moon travel in the same way that the trees' lights mingled. So you have the sun going from east to west and back, and at the same point you should have the moon going, in the opposite direction, so that so they should meet at their peak and then cross over in the same way that the trees would mingle their lights when they were trading off. However, Tilion was not very good at keeping his time, keeping his pace, or his path, and so was always very uncertain. He always craved to be close to Arien, but every time he got close to her, he was scorched. And so this travel didn't exactly go the way it was intended to go. And in fact, Lorien and Este beg Varda to change the course because there was no rest anymore. There was always light, there's no rest, and they couldn't see the stars any longer. So Varda decides to change the course and allow the sun to rest by the outer sea for a time. So now we're starting to get to the point where there's actually going to be a rotation. So Varda has the sun rest in Valinor, and then it's going to go under the earth, rise up from the east, and come back to Valinor going towards the west. And so she tells Tilion to do the same thing, to have this rotation, but to only rise in the east when the sun has set in the west. And Tilion, again, keeps his own path, his own time, does his own thing. And he also really wanted to be with Arien. So there were some times where he would speed up, slow down, just to try and get to Arien. And in doing this would essentially cause a solar eclipse. He would get in front of her so that he was blacked out. And so now we have days that the Valar reckon until the change of the world. It says that Tilion never stayed long in Valinor and would actually wander all the caverns below the earth and would, again, lose track of time and was always late to rise in the east. But the light of Valinor was greater after the long night when the sun would rest there. But it does say that neither the sun nor the moon ever held the same radiance or memory that the trees had, and that memory is only kept in the Silmarils, that the likeness of the trees are only kept in the Silmarils. So again, Morgoth hates the light, and he sends spirits of shadow to Tilion. And here we have a great fight in the skies between the shadows and Tilion, but Tilion comes out victorious. And Morgoth does not dare to mess with Arien. It says that his power is stretched thin because he's been putting himself in all of these destructive natures all around him, and so he doesn't have the power to go up against Arien. And so instead he creates more fumes and clouds to cover Angband from the sunlight. However, this does concern the Valar that he has attacked Tilion, and they're concerned of what he might do to them in Valinor. So now we have the creation of the Enchanted Isles. So here you have the Pellery, which again was already created to protect them from Morgoth. So you have the Pellery and the shores, of course. You have Tol Eressëa, and then beyond that you have the Shadowy Seas, and then within the Shadowy Seas you have the Enchanted Isles. And the idea is that if anyone were to even get through the Shadowy Seas, they would get stuck on one of the islands and would remain there until the change of the world. And it says that only one mighty mariner has ever made it through the Shadowy Seas, which is a tale for another day. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I really enjoyed this one, so much so that I woke up at like 2 a.m. and had this epiphany, and I wrote a song just for this chapter, and I just had this instant image of a drawing and illustration I want to do. So if you really like this, I insist that you come back on Tuesday, where I will be doing an illustration with the song and everything, and kind of sharing more of my thoughts on the story, because I really enjoyed this. Like there's a very like lovely image of Tilion's just sort of like wandering nature, but this like love and strive for Arien. But Arien never seems to like reciprocate that feeling. And it says that he actually would get scorched and burned if he ever got too close to Arien, that he couldn't, withstand the heat. So yeah, I just think that's so fascinating. And yeah, so if you guys are interested, please come back on Tuesday. I'm very excited for that now. So yeah, otherwise, I hope you guys have a good week, and may the hair on your toes never fall out. Bye.